Exhaust pipe, go!
In the game Men in Black Most Wanted, we had this minigun that you only get access to at a few special combat places. And I thought the design ended up working out quite well, especially the mech elements. So I thought it could be fun to do a little breakdown of it. First, when I started designing the gun, I was looking through the movies, trying to find something similar. And it turned out Men in Black doesn't have a lot of automatic weapons. But I was able to find this from the fourth movie, Men in Black International. They have like this automatic weapon, so I used that as a reference when designing my shots.
Exhaust pipe, go!
But the one in our game was much faster, so I had to come up with something different. First I did the fire sounds, trying to stay true to like the sort of retro blaster sound of the movie. So first I made these sounds. And then I added more of a mech element, this radium track. So these are the layers I used, basically just different blaster-ish sounds I made. And this is how it's set up in FMOD. Like our other weapons, it's like one big event for the whole weapon, and then we're using parameters to drive all the different sounds, which gives some nice opportunities. You can hear more about that in this video by Sergio in the FMOD deep dive. So inside this event instrument we have all the fire sounds. So this is full speed firing. So the fire sounds are inside this scatter instrument where they are played back using the spawn rate. So they sound like this when played one by one. And there's also this beep that starts playing when the weapon starts overheating. I tried using an EQ on the fire sounds to carve out some space for the beeps. So basically when the beeps play, it does a dip at the frequency they play at. So the EQ is automated by the heat. For the mech sounds that play when the weapon spins up and down, and also just when it is firing, I first made a lot of click and rattle sounds that I rendered out and then put them in FMOD so I could play around with it to see what actually worked, because it was quite hard just designing for those in Reaper. So they sound like this. Bunch of tools and some are from actual weapons. They then play from this barrel click track where I have another scatter instrument, again with the spawn rate automating the playback frequency. So you can hear this as spin rate parameter. And they play from in here where I have like a bunch of different clicks. I tried them all out in the beginning and then I just landed on these. One nice thing about FMOD is that it's really easy to like micro tweaks to the timing, because you have it all laid out on the timeline, so you can just, when live connected to the game, you can just move them a bit back and forth, and that often does a big difference for these kind of sounds. A little bit of pitch automation also based on spin rate. And then there's this EQ with just a high shelf outside on the track to make the high end go through more the faster it spins. I did this outside on the track instead of inside the scatter instrument, so we only have one instance on the EQ, so that's just for performance. So yeah, this is without the EQ. And then when you're firing at full speed, I just made a few loops. One from an actual minigun, another one from some like mechanical ratchet. I also made some energy sounds to use for sort of like the energy of the weapon charging up as the spin rate increases, and same as it goes down. These were designed from some source material I made early in production from experiments with like various spectral elements. So this is how it sounds when it transitions from the discrete clicks to the loop. So it sounds a bit jarring, the transition now, but when you have all the other elements from the firing, I think it totally works. Then finally, I have this utility parameter, I call it, attenuate over time. And it's a parameter that gets set when the weapon goes into constant fire, and then it has a negative velocity in FMOD, which makes it slowly go down, and this affects the EQ on the master track and the gain just to make the weapon less fatiguing if you're just like holding on the trigger, because you can fire this weapon for a long time. For the overheat of the weapon, we had these beeps inside the fire event, so they play a beep for every shot when the weapon heat is above like a certain value. And these play so fast that they sound almost just like a loop. I could have used a loop, but I didn't want to go back and change things at that time, just rising in pitch as the heat value rises. And then the main overheat sound is played inside this event overheat instrument. As the heat goes up, there's like this metal tickling sound, sort of like a car engine that's really hot or something. It's only audible if you actually stop firing, then you can hear the weapon is hot. And then when the weapon reaches overheat level, this overheated parameter is set to 1 and slowly goes back again to 0. I quite like these two beeps that were playing from the overheat parameter. So basically when it goes down, the spawn rate of them decrease and they change pitch, so they become less and less dissonant. So they become like a perfect fifth in the end, and then play like the ready sound again. Just nice player feedback, I think. And then even more sounds inside this event instrument when the weapon reaches overheat. It plays like a mech sound, some steam, like a fan. I was imagining something cooling down the weapon, and some rising UI sounds. I think that covers all for the minigun design. In other games, I might not have done the same, where I had like all these small sounds and layers split up, because it takes quite a lot of voices, but it worked in our case because we only have one minigun at the same time, and we know it's in these special cases. In other games, I might just have made more loops and baked things together, but it worked here, so I had fun making it.